Welcome to the Clean Truth, where we like to call bullshit on the status quo. Welcome back to the Clean Truth. And look who's back.
I haven't been here for a while. I got kicked off.
You got fired.
I got fired.
We actually did an interview yesterday that hasn't dropped yet. And the guy that was on the show asked if Ben was the new co-host.
I know I've been gone for a while. You kicked me off. So.
Well, you've been gone. All right. Before we start, we always do Truth or Dare, beginning of the episode. And we're on a truth this week, so lay it on me.
Guilty pleasure. What is your guilty pleasure?
How are we going to answer that on this podcast?
We don't have enough time for that.
Keep it PG though.
Guilty pleasure as in what, man?
Like you have a TV show that is embarrassing that you like to watch.
Oh, mine's easy. Housewives.
That's pretty bad.
I love them. They're my soap.
He's a Bravo junkie. Bravo junkie.
What's yours?
My guilty pleasure?
Just stick with TV shows. We're gonna keep
TV
it
shows.
PG-13.
None.
Guilty pleasure. I don't know. I don't know if I have any. Housewives, I guess, because you watch them, so I don't get the remote very often.
Diet Coke.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, diet
about
soda.
us.
Yeah, sorry, diet soda.
That's true.
I'm a diet soda. Yeah, fountain.
Me? I have none.
You're a
I'm
lion.
perfect.
You're a lion.
I'd have to say donuts on Saturday morning. Pretty susceptible.
Donuts.
Pretty
I
good.
was going to say health scores of our restaurants with health scores of 70 or less,
Yeah, that too. It counts.
which I'm sure we're getting drugged in. I'm getting drugged into something.
Yeah.
That's why I asked him, like, we can be back by noon so we don't have to have lunch somewhere.
Has that always been a thing? You like to go to restaurants that are like dive restaurants?
I just like to go to places that have been around a long time. And usually when that happens, their kitchens are falling apart and their restrooms are falling apart and their dining rooms are falling apart. So
No, I
the
dig
health
it. I was just
department
curious.
doesn't look favorably upon that.
I dig it. I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right, product review, aka our fake sponsors. Show and tell. I'm gonna do the Whoop app, the Whoop strap today, because I'm the only one in the room that you use it too, don't you? Joe Rogan did a big review on Whoop, so I'm stealing Joe Rogan's review. I think it's awesome. If you haven't checked it out, it's a fitness app. It's a band, kind of like the Apple Watch. Tracks heart rate variability. It's a cool fitness app. Check it out. We're not sponsored by Whoop, but it'd be pretty cool if we were. So anyway. All right, today we're going to talk about Clean Eatz Kitchen. We get questioned almost damn near daily from customer support questions, franchisee questions from the franchise side of the brand. So I figured, why the hell not just tell the story of Clean Eatz Kitchen, kind of similar to the way that we did with Clean Eatz in the very beginning of the podcast. So we have Jason Nista sitting next to us here. He's our business partner in Clean Eatz Kitchen.
Hello.
That was enthusiastic.
He's a man of words.
Are we going to get any words out of you today?
I don't know. We'll see.
I guess the first thing to do is, the reason why is, I just explained the reason why we were doing the show on Clean Eatz Kitchen, but I want to start the whole thing out with the why of Clean Eatz Kitchen, and I'm going to defer that one to you, because it's more or less kind of your baby.
Yeah, so I guess we started franchising. So at the time before Clean Eatz Kitchen, we only had 12 franchises. And so I hate being called small. So that's basically what the business world was calling us, was a small startup. And so my idea of Clean Eatz Kitchen, which again, it wasn't Clean Eatz Kitchen at the time, it's evolved from there, but it was to kind of get our brand messaging out to more customers, to a bigger, vast majority of the states. And we couldn't do that fast opening up franchises. So the only way we could do that is get our product in people's hands. So on my end of things, it was a little bit of marketing to make our brand look a little bit bigger so that people would start taking us a little bit serious. Getting where there wasn't cafes, we could fulfill the people who wanted to try Clean Eatz with the direct to consumer and stuff. But it started out wholesaling first until Jason got involved. But we were at the Charlotte opening, and we were with our friends Eric and Jeff from Europa Sports. And at the opening lunch that day, Jeff put our business card and their business cards together and said, "This looks like a great match." And so it started kind of with Europa with the whole wholesaling thing with the gyms and the, the vitamin shop, or not the vitamin shops, but the supplement shops. And so, but then as things evolved, it went into direct to consumer, and Jason can probably elaborate more on that one side of it.
Yeah, but I think one of the impetuses was that it was getting to more places faster. And there's so many food deserts out there where people would never have access to a cafe itself. And so by using the direct-to-consumer model, we were just able to get the food and get the brand out to so many places that it probably will never get to. And that was really what grew the brands in 2018-ish. Mm-hmm. In addition to all the wholesalers that have supported the brand over the years, just also getting deeper into places where it wouldn't be able to support a cafe by itself.
What about government contracts?
We did at the time have Camp Lejeune, and we had one more. Remind me. We had Camp Lejeune and
Cherry Point.
Cherry Point, yeah, at the time. And so we were wholesaling a little bit with that, and we were very successful with Camp Lejeune. And not only were we, but they were successful on our end selling the food and getting results for their Marines with the weight loss and the, being able to direct them to a product that could get them with their goals. And then that led into Beaufort was the next one that came on board, and then Quantico and those guys. And now we are in Colorado and
Camp Pendleton. We do a lot in San Diego as well. So a lot of Marine Corps bases carry the meals on base for the Marines to purchase.
We have one Air Force base, correct?
I don't know.
I think we have one Air Force, but we have not gotten into the rest of it.
So I think we need to talk about how to explain Clean Eatz Kitchen as it exists right now, along with Clean Eatz, the franchise company. I think that's a kind of a common misconception with customers out there, that it's, it is one brand, but it's two separate avenues of it's a choice, basically. Like Jason said a minute ago, the goal was to get it into these places where we didn't have these cafes. But, as we've grown this thing, just like anything else, it grew really fast, and it grew fast enough that customers were getting confused, which I think we've done a good job now in the last 6, 7, 8 months of kind of delineating the two, I guess, if you will. But customers still think that when they order meals from the cafe, they're going to be delivered. So how do you want to, I think we need to explain that a little bit. There's a lot of customers.
So it's two different models under the same brand. So the cafes, I guess just some bullet points that separate the two. The cafes meal plans, they have a live cafe menu where people can come in and sit. And then we also have a weekly changing menu of 6 items and the grab and go cooler. So all of those meals that people purchase from a cafe location are all made on site. So a lot of misconception out there is that they think that the Clean Eatz Kitchen supplies the franchisee owners the food, and we do not do that. They are only supplied the tools to make those meals and the support behind that. But every cafe owner makes fresh food, all the food on their premises. We do not do anything with the kitchen. So the kitchen side, the bullet points on that is that we are inspected by a USDA compliance officer every day. They're here to make sure that the food is, I guess, what's a
Produced under inspection, really.
well,
I
produced
mean,
under inspection. I was just saying, like, they make sure that things are cooked, cooled, that they're, there's SSOPs, which is like the standards to keep the food safe under their inspection. They check weight, they check, they check everything. They're here every day walking around, making sure that everything is safely produced and executed to the customers. So with that being said, we have labels, and with those labels that they approve, we cannot change the menu every week. So that's why the Clean Eatz Kitchen menu changes once a month.
And not to say that the cafes are dirty.
Oh, no.
They're
no.
also inspected as well.
They are inspected by county.
Yeah.
And under different stuff. Yeah. So we just, 2 different inspections.
It's just different.
Just different. Did I hit all the bullet points?
I think so.
You get the bullet points. There's just different levels of convenience for different customers as well. If you live near a cafe and it's convenient and easy for you to get to, then there's a lot of really good options there. But if you don't, or you're not able to get to a cafe, you can have it sent through FedEx, sent through FedEx right to your door. And so it really just depends on what the customer wants.
I agree. I think while we're on the subject of customer confusion, I think the part of the confusion and the battle that Evonne and I had when we ramped this thing up was a lot of our franchisees were really upset about it. And they thought that we were trying to compete with them. They thought that we were, purposely trying to take business away from them by shipping these meals within, their little franchise territory that they have. And completely not the case. And I think that, the way that I explained it to these guys in a big event that we had last year was, when you build something like this, you can't plan for everything up front. It's almost damn near impossible. So I think over time, especially now, does it sit well with all of them still? Maybe not a few of them. But I think most of them, I think that they get the benefit of it now versus of the brand recognition versus what they did in the beginning, because they didn't really understand what we were doing.
Yeah.
And now that we keep going, and the more that we keep growing the kitchen side, the distribution side of the brand, I make it a point to be as transparent as I can with these franchisees on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and especially some of the things that it's led to us benefit, like positively, just different sports teams and different things that we've been able to accomplish with the brand has benefited the franchise side also. Not to mention, I don't want to bore anybody with food costs and all of that stuff. We don't have to talk about that, but it does help those guys, with the way that our model works.
Yeah, we're not doing this to compete against our owners at all. My view of it is that we're helping them. We're helping them, like you said, with the food cost, with the brand, with the social marketing. I still, Jason will probably disagree with me, but I still think word of mouth is like the biggest advertising method that we have. But
hey, Granny, you got to go check out this cafe.
But you get people talking about it and talking on their social media and that kind of stuff. And, it's, we're not here to compete against anybody. We're one brand. And even though we work 2 separate ways, it's to build it together.
Let's jump into growth. You guys aren't very lively. You guys need to
It's hot in here, man. You're usually the first one that's sweating. I'm over here like
I'm sweating. We started Clean Eatz Kitchen out of one of our restaurants. I think that's a cool story. I think it's kind of really cool.
Jason didn't believe in me, and no, I was kidding. So.
And/or we didn't have any money.
We were broke, which is technical. But yeah, I had a space, which thank God that first did not work out.
What space?
Across the street from Racine.
Oh God.
Oh, the crazy catering guy?
Oh, that would have been terrible.
Yeah, so thank God he just kind of did a 180 at the last minute.
That guy was crazier than a shithouse rat.
I was trying to be like political correct on here.
He's still in business. He's still a part of the community.
That's the clean truth. There's a parental advisory.
So at that point we had already, the reason why we got to the cafe is because that deal broke out. There was nothing else available. So we were I wouldn't say we were panicking yet, but we had to do something. And so our Monkey Junction location, it was, I don't know how many square feet, but it was bigger kitchen in there. So we made that as a cafe. And then during the other hours and the other space that we did USDA out the back of it, which was, it
was crazy.
It was crazy.
We had a huge walk-in fridge, and we just placed it in the middle of the dining room of this cafe, and people just had to like maneuver around it as we were producing USDA meals throughout the day and freezing them down in the cafe itself. If you could have seen it, it was nuts.
And
but
then
nobody ever complained.
No one ever said
that I was ever
anything.
aware of. Nobody ever noticed it or I'm sure not
Big
that they
silver box in the middle of the dining room, and they just accepted it. Like
Yeah.
I'm like.
It looked like we were very, very busy. And so I think people were like, whoa, what's going on
yeah.
here?
Do you want to talk about the night we put that big box together? Remember that?
Yeah. I don't know where Jason was on that one.
I was out of town that day.
Well, you weren't even going to buy the freezer. So I took I don't even know how it happened. I ended up purchasing.
You loaned money to the company, essentially.
Yeah. So I got a loan and bought 2 freezers and that forklift. I was so proud of the forklift. It wasn't even, it was like a manual remote control forklift, which we still have.
Forklift is a generous term. It goes
We
up
were
and
on a
down,
budget.
but that's about it.
We were on a budget.
Oh, the old manual thing. I remember that.
Yeah. We still
It's
have
still
it.
here. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but Ben Mitchell helped us put the freezer in our shipping location. I'm using that as a funny term too. Our shipping room.
I always forget
That
about
was a
that.
funny place.
I always forget that we had to
Yep.
take them from one point to the other one.
Yeah. And then me, you, and Tara basically just bench pressed the thing up there. It wouldn't fit through the doors. It was just terrible.
Well, I was talking about was that the same night that you
Cried.
basically had a freaking
No.
meltdown?
No, that was the first day that we produced food. So I had in my head, and the reason why I am totally against business plans and anything else is because whatever works on paper does not work in real life. So I had bought carts, which in my head, I was going to fill the carts up as we were producing the food and then roll them into the freezers. And then our shipping location was down the road from us. So we had to rent a Penske truck
Oh, I
to.
forgot about this.
You forgot about all this?
Oh my God, that was the worst idea.
So they were basically carts that locked on all 4 sides and wheeled them in. So at the time we were filling the cart, we had put it into our walk-in cooler. Me and Don had a football event that we had to go to and didn't get done with that until 9 p.m. that night. But this rack of food I don't think you know the story. The rack of food had to get in the freezer for the weekend because it was Friday night. So I did not realize when the walk-in freezers came in that they had a floor on them. So they were not level with the ground.
About 5 inches tall.
So I also did not realize how much the Arnold wrap weighs with 900 and some meals on a cart. I thought me and Don could bench press or like just squat lift this rack up and put it into the freezer and we would just have a great weekend. It did not go that way. So it was heavy as shit. We could not lift it. And then if anybody knows my husband very well, like he will tell you every reason why I did not think out the whole reality of the situation. Like I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan for that. And I just basically fell on the ground and started crying and said, I'm done. Everyone can have everything. I'm done. I'm done.
It was
I
almost over
cried.
before it started.
It was a temper tantrum.
Yep.
So I cried for about 30 minutes and then he bought me sushi and we figured out that they make ramps for the freezer.
Yep.
And when we bought
I
the
found
ramp,
one at 2 a.m. online.
it was like 2 a.m. that he was like, once I cry, like that's I get my way. So he found the ramp and then we got the ramp that weekend and rolled the cart in there. So part B of that great plan was when Jason picked it up on the Penske truck.
Man, I forgot all about that.
Was there a lift gate on this truck?
No, there was, but as was already noted, those things weighed like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And so we still had to manhandle him to get him in there. And it was, I think we did that like twice, maybe ever. And we were like, this is not going to fucking work. We got to figure something else out.
Well, because you were by yourself down at the
That's
storage
true.
unit.
Yep. I was rolling these 1,000-pound carts off, and they were just getting ready to crush me.
All the
Just be
meals would fall.
done. Yep.
Is that when the blue Smurf totes came about?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
So that was like, they were just like, we ran to Walmart. What can we put these meals in? There was these big Christmas tree or the storage totes from Christmas because it was like November.
Yeah.
So they started out red and then they get green and then blue. Yeah. So we bought these totes and we have tried to figure out other methods of these totes, but they
Still
work.
got 'em. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
So
we're no
the-
longer in the cafe. This would be a short podcast if we were still in the cafe.
Yeah.
We've since grown from there.
that's
So second lease though, here where we're sitting today, I basically said I was signing it without you. Like you were totally against it. Remember?
Was I?
You were. So it's kind of funny how the story goes because I was totally against this place. Or no, you were against this place. Too big. We can't afford. Or I don't know what you even like your bullet points of what you said. But I'm like, I'm signing the lease. So we signed the lease. 8 months later, we outgrow this place. Was it even 8 months? 6 months? 4 months?
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Jason presents me with a lease for 60,000 square foot. And I'm like, we can't do this. It's too big, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not signing it. And then we signed it. And now we're going tomorrow to look at another location.
Yep.
And we're still at this location.
Yep.
And now we're in Salt Lake. Well, I guess Salt Lake's a whole nother story too. Another thing. I just don't think you support me on these stories. Like, so then we're sitting in the conference room when you decide that you are going to go full time onto the kitchen because it was growing that fast. So you decided to go full time to the kitchen. I said my goal was to get to the West Coast. You told me you draw the whole map out for me. Remember?
I still have it hanging around here somewhere.
He says we will not
this
go
is
to
Clean
the
Eatz
West.
country. I remember that.
Yep. I hung it on my office door, so she had to see it every time she came into my office.
And so I always meant to like, I love California shirts, like bumper stickers. Like I was trying to if people don't understand probably our relationship that much, but it's just, we push each other's buttons to someone explodes at some point in the year, I think. But he said, we're not going to go to West Coast. There's enough people here to ship meals to. And look at where we're at now, West Coast.
Yep.
Well, I think the West Coast warehouse is also a cool story. I mean, it's kind of rare on how that happened. So I don't really. Who wants to explain that one? Because I mean, you pretty much packed your whole.
Evonne just said it. We just fought tooth and nail on it, and eventually she just wore me down. And I was like, fine, forget it. We'll make it work. And so we just kind of went for it, and it took almost a year, really.
Was it a year?
Man, it's been almost a year, right?
But you moved
It's
your whole
9
family
months.
out there.
It was 9
We
months or a
went-
year.
We packed up one day and went and looked for real estate.
Mm-hmm. That was in May of 2019. Yep. So it took like 9 months to get the place started, but yeah. So we were trying to find a location on the West Coast that would allow us to ship everywhere in the continental U.S. And there were a couple of different spots, and just so happens that Salt Lake City is like geographically the center of it. And I don't think either of us have ever been there in our lives. And we didn't know anybody. We knew nothing about Salt Lake City. And we showed up on a plane, and we had a real estate agent meet us, and we like drove around for like 2 hours, and we were like, okay, this is good. And we just like chose a spot and went with it.
We had two,
We had two,
Yeah.
but one of them didn't work out.
which was
so
probably the only time we ever agreed on the two locations.
we only looked at 3. we
looked
didn't
at,
have
like,
many
8
options.
of them that day.
I don't remember.
We drove
if any
everywhere.
of them
And
were.
still, like, the funny story of that whole thing, the guy who was showing us the real estate still did not know who the hell we were.
He
kept on
still
saying-
has no idea
He
to
still
this
has
day.
no clue who we are.
But yeah, so we just like out of the blue chose this location, and we started building it out. But yeah, Dom was alluding to, I moved with my wife and son out there in like October 2019, and we were there for 6 months, just like doing construction and figuring out sourcing and how everything was going to work, hiring a staff and starting to produce. And it was a fun experience, and just not knowing anybody or anything, like learning from scratch. But it was good. Now we're live and it's like fully operational 100%, and they're jamming. So it's good.
We had funny stories out there too. We got broken into how many times?
It's not funny.
It's kind of
Not
funny.
knowing
Now
anything
it's
about
funny.
a place, and your real estate is like, this is a really great spot, and then doesn't tell you that the crime level there is like the highest in the country. And yeah, they break
And
into our
that the
spots a lot.
state of Salt Lake City is,
The state of Salt Lake City.
well, no, the medical thing is right next door to
Where
us.
they keep all the good drugs.
Yeah.
Store.
That didn't come up till after the fact. There's like this really nondescript like warehouse next, like adjacent to our warehouse bay, and it's I shouldn't tell people this. They're gonna look it up online.
Well, they have it's label. It's labeled.
Anyway,
It's a
they
me-
didn't
it's a
tell me.
medical
They didn't
drug
tell me not to
facility.
tell you. So if you're
Yeah.
looking for drugs, the state of Utah has like this backup like bomb shelter facility next to ours, and they store like all these life-saving drugs in there. And I guess the crackheads found out that it's in there, and so they'd break into the place all the time to try to steal these drugs.
But they
And-
broke in our place and then would kick the wall in, right?
That's right. So they would go through our facility and they would just knock in the drywall and go into the next one and steal all the drugs and run away. And so that
Well, the
was
good news is
that was
we
a thing for a while.
Good news is we can keep them fed for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some energy to keep
So they
going.
could take anything out of our place they want.
And
There's nothing about
then
it.
during almost the final inspection, the earthquake happened out there.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'd never been through an earthquake, and I was renting a U-Haul to move back, and I was in the U-Haul place, and the place just started shaking like crazy. And this old man's waiting on me from behind the counter. He's like, "It's an earthquake!" And he just fucking bolted out the front door, and I had no idea what the protocol was, so I just like chilled and just waited, and the place just kept shaking, and stuff was falling off the walls, and it was wild. But
So an hour before our final walkthrough with the USDA to get, right? It was
yeah.
that happened at the time of the earthquake. U.S. Foods was trying to deliver us a thing, and he was in the truck during the earthquake. So then Jason, he's like, the place is jinxed. Like, it's just like,
was
I
not
can't,
good.
there was like a whole bunch of stuff that happened that day or that week that we couldn't.
Yeah.
And it ended up cracking our floor, right? They had to redo.
There's all kinds of damage that it caused throughout Salt Lake City that time, but it was scary.
But then we passed, and now it's running.
Here we
So
are.
So did they have to redo that whole floor? Because I went out there, and that's a big floor.
Yeah, they redid a lot of it. They had an epoxy. We have like an epoxy floor across all of our kitchens, and they had to rip it up and redo a bunch of it.
an hour before our final inspection.
No, I remember. It's a pretty nice facility out there. That's
Yeah,
Jason's going back Sunday.
yeah.
what about the future? So we told everybody how this whole thing started, which is pretty comical stories. Our growth path, and where are we going with this thing?
We're
Still
all eyeing each other up, like, what's the next move?
Yeah, who wants to touch that one?
I was going to say we were not on the same page on this one, but again,
But looking backwards, when are we ever on the same page?
never.
I've heard
Right?
St. Louis. I've heard Oklahoma City. I've
Oh,
heard
gosh.
Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, Don, can I get a break? God
We just
almighty.
we had triplets. Like, triplets are hard. So there's
Listen, I'll
triplets.
take the St. Louis one. I'll go home. And
Yeah, if anybody's listening here that's in St. Louis that wants to open a facility,
Let us
got
know.
a good job for you.
Yeah.
No, but the point that Don was getting at was like, are we going to open more facilities? Like, how many more customers are we going to serve? What does the growth model look like? And
I
it's like, you never know.
Yeah, I would say as much frustration through all of this that with FedEx, like I would love to be able to line FedEx up with like a non-air pad, like, you know, like everything could almost be there within the 2 days. So if it arrives the third day, we still are good, you know, because I made a post and you didn't comment on it. I figured I would get some blowback on it, but I had you know, the FedEx guy shutting the door. But once our packages are on FedEx, like we cannot control anything that goes to that, and it drives me crazy because like either FedEx just puts it back on the thing, or they hide it in someone's backyard, or I don't know. I think half our packages go home with them and they eat them. So
It's probably also possible.
So I don't know
We
where
should
these
stop it.
packages go. And for us to put the time and effort in packing those boxes, it drives me crazy. Jason said we're fine. Like, don't worry about it. Focus forward, but it still drives me crazy.
But I think your post on Instagram was like, God bless our customer support people.
Yeah. Because they get taken.
Our customer support team gets crushed, and it's not their fault. That's what she's getting at. Is like, if you ever deal with customer support, a lot of time it's definitely never the customer support person's fault. Like, they didn't do anything wrong, so like be easy on them. But a lot of times it's not even the company's fault. Like, it's an intermediary's fault, or something went wrong with the delivery, and it's like you want to blame the company. Like, oh, I paid you this money to complete this transaction, but we're just like, we're part of the transaction and a cog in the wheel, and we pay FedEx to do stuff for us, and sometimes they fail too, but they never get any shit about it.
No one can ever reach FedEx, but
Yeah.
they can reach us, And some of the things I could not do are customer support. And I know I would probably have to be on antidepressants.
God bless them. And it's 24/7, man. You'd be surprised how many people at 3 a.m. are so pissed. It's unbelievable.
And then not only do they just do that, then if they don't get response within just a few minutes, it's like they start channeling everywhere.
Yeah.
So they start calling all of our cafes, which then that makes them mad. And then they, like, we will get to you. Like, just sit there. Like, you're in a line with people, and we're getting there.
We could build a new
Yeah,
website
people
and
love
put
lines.
AI on it.
Huh?
We could build a new website and put AI on it.
Oh, people love that.
Automated responses.
Yeah.
Based off of what questions you ask.
But it comes from every social media that they
Yeah.
can think of. Somehow some of them get my personal cell phone. I don't even know. I think the cafe members just get so mad. They're like, here's her personal number. And so I'll pick up.
Yeah.
I think we do a pretty damn good job of it, though.
Yeah.
Statistically,
I
we do.
do.
That's
I
why I
mean,
say
I
we don't
believe
have a
that we
problem.
do.
Is our numbers are really good, and like you said, we get to 100% of the customer support tickets that are filed. It just, if you file it Friday night at 3 a.m., it may not be gotten to for a day or two, and so, but we do handle 100% of them well.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, I think we should tell people like how to locate Clean Eatz Kitchen and how to utilize it. If anybody's listening that doesn't know how to, I don't think there would be too many, but if there were, obviously we have the website cleaneatskitchen.com. You can still go to cleaneats.com if you happen to fall onto that site first. The technology with that website works a little bit different. It'll just ask you where you're located, and if you're not around a cafe, it'll just redirect you. It'll completely redirect you to cleaneatskitchen.com. So,
And we have a lot of wholesale accounts too, as we started the conversation talking about where that is, but there's a store locator on cleaneatskitchen.com that'll show you like all of the wholesalers that are also selling our food. So if you want to shop local, you can still prop your local supplement shop or gym and go to them and get our products through them as well.
that's really cool. I like that. I like that feature, especially now, because everybody's pushing buy local so much. So,
Yeah. And I guess we get a question too. If they want to become a wholesale vendor, do they still do the website, or do we have?
Yeah, just through the website. If you go to cleaneatskitchen.com and click on like the buy in bulk, there's a wholesale option there that you can hook up with our support team, and they'll get you set up with an account and get you taken care of.
cool. I don't have anything else, unless you guys do. That was the story of Clean Eatz Kitchen.
That's it.
No, just if you're interested in any of those positions, reach out.
We are
Everybody
hiring.
needs a
We
job.
are hiring. We're always hiring. So if you're wanting to be with, it's endless lunches, not endless lunches, but you do get lunch every day. So that's a cool thing about working with us. Me and Jason do fight through the warehouse. So that's kind of entertaining once in a while.
Yeah. It's been fun.
All right, guys. Till next time.